Hello there, Leah from Legato Music here with a quick video today. In other words, not too much of me talking, you'll be relieved to hear. But I get a lot of requests on advice for developing coordination between the hands. So today I just want to show you a few exercises that just cover the basics. And by the basics I mean the abilities that have to be in place before you can move on to any more challenging stuff. So for some of you, the first one or two of these might be nearly too easy. But I'd suggest you have a run through them just to be sure you really do have those skills mastered very precisely. So now there's nothing particularly special about these except that they cover the problems I see most often in students starting off, but they're the kinds of exercises you'll find in any book on piano technique. Although one of them actually is my own. I call it the ejector seat button exercise, so I'd be interested to hear what you think about that one. Also make sure you stick around till the end because I'm going to show you how to play a really fun little piece by the Russian composer and music educator Dmitri Kabalevsky, which is a fantastic coordination exercise in itself, but easy to learn, so you can focus on what your fingers are doing, so don't miss out on that. If you do want to go about developing your coordination in a more structured way, I find the dozen a day books, you know those? They've been around for decades and they still do the job very nicely, so I'm going to put some links to those in the description if you want to check those out. Okay, so without further ado, here are 5 exercises and 1 Kabalevsky piece, starting with the very easiest exercise and building from there. So have fun and happy practicing. So our very first exercise is very simple, but there's a lot to be learned from it. So even if you're a little bit beyond this phase, it's worth maybe just going through this once or twice to make sure that you've got the basics exactly right. So all we're starting on middle C and just playing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 if you're going by finger numbers, and back in again. Now, if you can do that, then move on. There's no need to stay on it. But what you might find is happening is that you might be playing the notes at slightly different times. So you might be playing one note before the other. You don't want that. Or you might find that one finger skips a note altogether, and that's hard to control. So you want to take your time. Check your hand shape. Is your hand nice and round, or are you playing with flat fingers? You want to make sure that all of your digits are on the keys, including your thumb. If your fingers are flat, your thumb is going to be out here. So you want to make sure you roll your wrist in. You also want to make sure at this point that your wrist isn't dropped down here, or it's not too high up, and that you're not holding your hand at an awkward angle. You want to try and keep your arm and hand aligned as much as possible. So the second variation on this contrary motion, contrary means going, in musical terms, means going in opposite directions. So that's what we're doing in this. So we're going to change the fingering slightly so that it becomes a precursor to scale practice. So what we're going to do now is just play 1, second, fingers, thirds, and then we're going to bring our thumbs under, and then back again, thirds over. Okay, 1, 2, 3, under. Again, looking for that nice even tone. Okay, so now we're going to move up a level, and at this time we're still playing a 5-finger exercise, but now we're going in similar motion rather than contrary motion, and we're going to start off just by playing steps. So now instead of playing the same finger numbers in each hand, you're playing the same notes in each hand but different fingers. So again, stepping up and back down again. Same things apply. You're looking for very even notes, not skipping any notes. If that works okay for you, then you can also do skips. And then when that's working okay, you can combine the two. Here's a little exercise you can do. Stepping first. Skipping. Skipping. Stepping. And once you can manage that at a slow speed, you can try variations on it. One thing that people struggle with in the early stages of learning piano is just the very basic independence of the hand, so each hand doing a different thing. So the very first starting step is for one hand to be able to hold a note while the other hand lifts the hand and goes on to something else. So here's a little exercise. Let's just do it on 2 Gs. You can do it anywhere on the piano, but 2 Gs is visible for my camera and gives me space as well to move. You'll see what I mean in a minute. Okay, so I'm going to play the 2 Gs with my thumbs, and I'm going to keep the left hand G down, and I'm going to lift the right hand. Okay, now I'm going to reverse that and keep the right hand down and lift the left hand. Okay, now with my second fingers, third fingers, right, left, fourth fingers, and fifth fingers. You can see now why I needed a bit of space between my hands. Okay, that might take a while. You'll find that as one hand lifts, the other hand wants to come up as well. So it might be hard to lift one hand and keep the other hand down. So practice that for a while. That's very important. When you've managed to get that very basic step going, then what you can do is start to hold one hand while the other hand plays multiple notes. That'll be the next step, and that's what you're going to meet in your music. So you need to be able to do this. Okay, and then you can try that with different fingers. Etc. One of the biggest problems I see regularly is when you have to maintain the legato in one hand while repeating a note in the other hand. And let me show you what I mean. So let's say you have to play this. When you start off, what's very likely to happen is this. And what's happening is that as your left hand comes up to repeat the note, it has to repeat that C. Your right hand wants to come up at the same time because they want to mirror each other. They're used to doing things together. So they come up both at the same time, and of course that breaks the legato in the right hand. We want to avoid that. So what we want to do is a little technique that I call the ejector seat button. Okay, so let's just count this out so we know exactly where this is going to happen. As I'm holding my C in the left hand, I'm playing 4 notes. So we're in 4/4 time essentially. So I'm playing 4 beats in each bar. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so the 4th note, the last beat in every bar before is the left hand note repeats, is going to be my ejector seat button, and the ejector seat is going to be whatever note the left hand is playing. So watch what I do. Okay, here's my ejector seat button. It's the 4th beat, so when I hit this button, my left hand is going to be ejected. Off it goes. I keep the button down. Okay, now I've got my 4th note, 4th beat of this bar held down, so now I can join that legato to the next beat and come back down with my left hand. Ejector seat. Okay, so wherever you have to repeat a note in the left hand and you don't want to break the flow of the legato in the right hand, then what you do is the last note in the right hand before the left hand has to lift, draw a little circle around it so that you know that that's the ejector seat button, and once you hit that note, the left hand's going to come up, the right hand is busy holding the button down, so it stays down, so then you don't break the line of the legato. You're going to come across passages in your music where one hand is playing legato and the other hand has to play staccato. So that can take a good deal of coordination to be able to do that. So let's take, for example, a very simple exercise. Let's say you have to play legato in the right hand, staccato in the left hand. So this is what you need to be able to play. So to begin with, if you have trouble doing that, you want to break it down to its very smallest units and start off just like this. Okay, that's where you're beginning. So then you have to keep the legato in mind in one hand. So just add. Okay, so now I'm getting ready to play my D, and I'm going to hop this. So that might be all you're able to do to start off with. Even just that first note is enough to begin with. Take your time. If you need to stop here and think about it, stop and think. ready yourself, rehearse in your mind what you're going to do. And then you'll find you start to get the hang of it. Be sure to swap hands. Okay, so here, as promised, is a little piece I'm going to teach you by rote, and it's going to be a really good little exercise for coordinating the hands and developing your staccato touch while playing skips. It's very much pattern based, but I'll play it for you first and then we'll have a look at what the pattern actually is. So if I just play the right hand first of all, I'm starting on C. So rhythmically think of a pattern 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, rest. Okay, that comes back again 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, rest. So that's your first section. So it's skipping up and down, or skipping up if there's a rest involved. But we're starting on C, then D, then down to B, then C. So think of those notes, bum, 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 all around C. Okay, that's the first section. And the second section just goes down, starting on the D. So think of these notes. I think I got that right. Yep. So bum, 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 and that happens twice. Rhythmically, we're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. And again. And finishing with, that's your 1, 2, 3 there, okay? So that's the right hand. Let me play through it again. So remember, we're starting off with this pattern. And then 2 times. Okay, and just playing skips on top of it. Okay, so that's your right hand. Now the beauty of Kabalevsky is that he wrote so many patterns into his music, it makes it very easy to memorize and play. So all your left hand is doing is mirroring the skips a note below. So your thumbs are always next door. So if you're starting here on C, then going up to D, your thumb is just in the left hand is just following. Okay, so I'll go slowly, and it's just skipping. If your right hand is skipping up and down, left hand is doing exactly the same thing, going in contrary motion. Down to B. Second part, D, C, always just follow what your right hand is doing. Okay, so once you've got the hang of the pattern, then you can really concentrate on making sure those skips are nice and even and clean. Sorry, that wasn't even or clean. And that you've got a nice staccato going. That's why it's called the hedgehog, it's nice and prickly.